I have a clip here from Newsnight for you, a discussion between two ladies. We have Poppy Coburn and Shami Chakrabarti. Now, you may remember Shami as being the shadow attorney general in the last Tory government leading up to 2020 anyway. She had to leave due to a whitewashing of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party, but let's just move on from Shami and her relationship with Jeremy Corbyn. I've no doubt that Shami is very popular on the dinner party Islington set, where she'll meet such people such as Keir Starmer and the Attorney General and, the Philip Sands KC, that little group of treasonous cretins that conspired to give away the British territories in Chagos and paid tens of billions of pounds for the privilege of doing that. So this is the type of people you're dealing with who love to talk about decency, compassion and fairness.
It doesn't matter how much you talk about rights. It doesn't matter how much you try to impose on people a counter-narrative. If they do not agree with the principle that people from all over the world who have been displaced by conflict have an automatic right to settle in the UK, you are never going to get rid of this issue. It's not one of comms.
It's not one of comms?
No.
It's one of refugee conventions.
It's one of numbers. It's completely one of. I mean,
but the numbers. Okay. But let's be honest about the numbers, because the numbers are being distorted.
You mentioned
the poll that you were referring to earlier is that people think there are many, many more illegal migrants coming to the country than actually are.
But to offer a corrective to this, there was a poll that was done by Onward that asked people how many migrants do you think are coming to the UK altogether?
Yeah.
And they
legal
answered,
and illegal.
Legal and illegal. They answered 70,000, which is obviously wrong by a factor of 10. And even then, when massively underestimating the number of people coming, they still said migration is too high.
Okay, so why is it then governments of Conservative persuasion and so far Labour persuasion cannot do what they promised the public, which is, in Rishi Sunak's case, stop the boats, thus far with Sir Keir Starmer, smash the gangs?
Well, it's because we're bound by this principle of rights, which is outdated and does not work for the modern world. If you want to actually do something, it's got nothing to do with smashing the gangs, it's got nothing to do with one in, one out. You have to leave the Refugee Convention, you'd have to leave the ECHR, you'd have to abolish the Human Rights Act.
Okay. Well, that's not a country that I would feel very comfortable about, and I think that a lot of people have a very, very deep sense of decency, of compassion and fairness. And remember, we are all non-nationals in every other country on earth. If we start deconstructing the international rules-based order, chaos and some pretty evil things will lie in our future.
Well, you're a human rights lawyer. Sir Keir Starmer was a human rights lawyer. You know him well. You've moved in the same circles. Can you ever imagine him resiling from those international treaties?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
It becomes very clear when you look at interactions like that just how much the mood has shifted, just how much the zeitgeist has morphed very, very quickly, I would say, over the last 12 months or so. This is on hyperspeed at the moment because everyone has reached the tipping point. And tipping points are very, very special because what happens, it's a little bit like a vent. So a little bit starts to vent, and as that's venting, the venting becomes more sustained, and then it becomes a full-scale vent, and then everything explodes, everything's out in the open, and nothing is left untouched. And this is what's happening with the illegal migration debate. And what we saw there was, I believe, indicative of what's happening with all of these debates across media. There's a little point thrown out, which Shami did throw out there, and her point was this. When you ask the British people, they dramatically overestimate how many people are coming here. And that's an old argument that's been pushed out for years. To which Poppy responded, no, when asked, the British public believe it's a tenth of what it actually is. And then, of course, you get the fallback arguments, which you do get whenever you're debating somebody from the left. They immediately fall back to the old things that they used to say, which are, well, decency, compassion, fairness, and I really wouldn't want to live in a country like that. And what that is there, that's the bait. So the left dangle that bait out. So Shami is a black woman and she's mentioned the sentence to you. Well, I wouldn't want to live in a country like that. So what I'm going to do here, Shami, I'm going to take the bait for you. Okay, so here it is. Perhaps, Shami, you don't want to live here anymore. Perhaps you should go and find a country that is more in line with your decency, compassion and fairness chip that's running inside your head there. Perhaps you want to find a country better than Britain that isn't going to be so hard on illegal migration. People that are coming to this country in a dinghy and getting a free holiday in 4-star hotels at the British taxpayers' expense, who get to live here for the rest of their natural-born lives and bring all their family members over ultimately. Perhaps you would want to move to a country like that had more decency, compassion and fairness. And in what I've just done, that was just an example of the debates that are happening everywhere. They've run their course. The way that the left would embarrass people when they were losing the arguments, and this was done time and time again. So you get to the point where the argument is lost, the finger gets pointed, and the word racist comes out. Those views are racist. And when they lose that argument, they fall back onto decency, compassion, and fairness. So what about the decency for the British taxpayers here? What about the decency and compassion for the women and girls who've been abused? What about the fairness on the British people who have to put up with this garbage day after day after day from rich human rights lawyers like Shami Chakrabarti, who just go onto our media and espouse these stupid views, these outdated views? The people, I think, have had enough of people like Shami Chakrabarti. They've had enough of people like Keir Starmer. And what we're witnessing here is an ushering out of that whole paradigm from our consciousness. We've dealt with it for far too long. The British people have put up with it for far too long. I've had enough of it. I'm guessing you've had enough of it as well. And I think all across media we're seeing the same thing played out. That argument that we've just watched there is the old paradigm. And bring in the new, that's what I say, and not a moment too soon. Thanks very much for your time.